This is going to be an encouragement, folks, for those that have any children, those that have had chronic pain, migraines. And I'm going to ask Pam just to share a little bit of her health challenges because it's an amazing, amazing story. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the miracles you've seen in your daughter. And then enter a little sticky patch and what's happened so quickly. Um, Amazing. So Pam, if you just share a little bit about your health challenges and walk us through the journey starting in 2016 when you had a surgery, right? That went wrong.
I did. I had a routine sinus surgery that was supposed to be just gonna clear out some tissue, clear out some bone, and open up that sinus area so that I would stop having all this swelling. What happened that day was the doctor did the routine surgery and he did not pack my face. So he took away bone and tissue and didn't put any packing. I got home and about an hour later, I began bleeding and I was bleeding out. So they rushed me in to a second surgery in the same day. And when he packed it, he overpacked it to the point where you could actually see it on inside my skin. It was, you could see the bumps. Well, that packing is supposed to last for 2 weeks. Mine stayed in for 2 months and caused damage to the trigeminal nerve. And the trigeminal nerve is already a hard thing to deal with. It causes a lot of pain, causes imbalance, it causes pressure. It changes when it changes everything in your life. Well, mine went further than that. I have a condition that has no cure. Um, and its nickname is, it's called the suicide injury. It took me 3 sinus surgeries and a brain surgery. And after 31 surgeons, I went through 31 surgeons to find this brain surgeon that was willing to take my case and actually do something. And what he did do was cut a fiber of the nerve, which allowed me to at least be able to tolerate wind. That was as good as it got. So from that day, August 31st of 2016, and I'm not a person that remembers dates, but I can't forget that one, until February of 23, I lived with 2,400 days of level 10 migraines. Whether you saw me doing something or not, I was heavily medicated, I was in tremendous pain, and I was faking my own life because every day ended up the same way, in bed with a migraine, with a blanket over my face for no stimulation and just a zombie of not moving because I couldn't function. I couldn't walking, laying down, sitting down, nothing made it better. Just a blanket over my head to stop all stimulation and lots of medication
I'm good.
until
Let me just stop you there because I've had migraines, a few, but do the math, 2,400 into a 365 day, over 6.5 years of constant migraine.
yeah,
That I don't even know how you could bear that,
I didn't.
how you could function.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I did everything that I needed in my life, but there were no extras. There was no, I knew that if I did this one thing, the price I paid for that is 3 days in bed or 5 days in bed. You compromise every decision you make on how much you're going to give up to do the one thing. And that is not a life that's being lived. That's just existence. And I needed to be more than that.
And at this time, and we're going to talk about Katie, but so you've got a physically challenged daughter. You're married now, I understand, coming August, 46 years to Brian. So now Brian's got the load because you can't function with migraines, and you've got a daughter that needs care 24/7.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. I
So
I I was impressed with you before the call. Now I'm really impressed. I know you're a woman of faith, so you had to be praying for a breakthrough. And we're going to talk about Brian Penrod entering the room here shortly and what he introduced you to. But go ahead. I just wanted to catch people up as to the background to all you're going through. You know, you're trying to juggle taking care of a daughter that needs help. You can't function. I know I couldn't function with a migraine. I've only had a few in my life. 6.5 years, folks. That's a lot.
I can tell you that I know the day it started and I know the day it ended because those 2 days can't be denied. Um, and literally, I had put out a message on Facebook asking for prayers and a miracle, and I got a message that said, "Can I send you something?" I didn't
Mhm.
even ask what it was. It didn't matter. I had the last surgeon that I talked to after brain surgery said the only thing we have left is alcohol ablation, but it will kill all the nerves in your face. I said, "Will it stop the pain?" He said, "I can't tell you that, but you won't feel your face. So you can't smile, you won't hold food in your mouth, and you're giving up a permanent situation. It'll never grow, it'll never get back. And they can't tell you you're not going to be in pain." I didn't think there was a compromise. There was a choice to make there. I mean, I was in a zero sum, no win. There was no win. And
Wow.
I said no and just continued to suffer until I received something for the pain, to block the pain, and to stimulate new cellular help,
Wow.
regeneration of sorts. And that's exactly what happened.
Hmm. So I happen to know Brian. So hats off, Brian Penrod. So Brian feels inclined. I know he's a man of God. So your prayers are answered. Here's Brian, God's hands and feet, says, "Hey, check out these cellular regeneration patches. Try them." And what happened?
Well, it was put it here, here, and here. Like just put them on, drink a big glass of water. In 5 minutes, your level 10 pain will go down to a 2. Well, there's no way to promise that. There's no way to even suggest it, but he that's what he said. That's what the back of the note said. Because I didn't know what it was. It's just, okay, I'll try it. Put them on. I put them on, I drank a big glass of water, and in 5 minutes I went down to about a level 2. And if you've been at a 10, a 2 is like a party. That that's go do what you want to do. Life is good. And my husband wouldn't even look at me. He said, I don't want to look at you in case it goes away. But it didn't go away. And after 5 weeks of doing 5.5 weeks of doing exactly the same thing, for the first time, the pain cycle broke for me. And once that happened, I knew that this was going to be a new path, and I needed a new path. And there were no promises. There was only a hope, and that's really all I needed. I needed a hope line, and that's what I got.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah, everybody's body responds differently. The inventor of these patches, this technology is over 20 years old. Started with the U.S. Navy SEALs. It's now in over 82 countries. 50% of those can respond very quickly. The other 50%, they recommend a month per decade of age. So if I'm 57, I need to commit to at least 6 months. We have a doctor in Montana recommends a commitment of at least a year. Um, in 2.5 years tends to be a sweet spot in that month 3 or 4. If people can consistently patch 12 hours on, 12 hours off, eat well, and drink and hydrate. Um, so wow, now you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
you can function. Your husband had to be so excited for you, and now you've got Katie, right? Let's share screen. Let's talk about.
Hold
Go
up
ahead.
on that
Yeah,
part for a second.
yeah.
I just got back. Now I've been patching since February of 23. I just got back from Orlando, which took 24 hours in the airport. And I didn't realize it until yesterday. I went through all of that. And anybody that's traveled knows it's hard. It is hard to stay 24 hours in an airport awake. And I did it without having any pain, and I didn't have a migraine.
Mm.
And it didn't dawn on me until after the event that I just pulled it through. And all I was wearing were patches. That was it. I mean, kind of at night you do a patch down to see where they're at, but that I just that's what pulled me through. And honestly, it took 2.5 years, but this is where I'm at now. I didn't think this was possible.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm going to share a little bit here and share screen real quick. Um, I'm just going to talk a little bit before we get to Kate. If I can get this, Katie, excuse me. I'm going to go here. I'm just going to read this. Um, as we age, the faster you age, the slower you heal due to natural decline in our stem cells. By age 30, our stem cells have decreased by about 50%. By 60, we've lost almost all of our stem cells. We tend then to have more aches, pains, less energy and stamina, slower recovery from exercise, fine lines, wrinkles, hair loss, reduced sleep quality, decreased memory, mental clarity and focus, weight gain, and increased inflammation. This sort of shows the decline. Took the inventor 10 years, folks, 10 years and nearly $5 million of his own money, almost bankrupted his company twice to get this correctly. What this patch does is it works like a mirror. Imagine if we could see the infrared light that radiates about 3 inches off of our skin. We see it in military movies with infrared goggles. Living beings, they light up like a Christmas tree. And this little mirror, if you will, reflects that back in, elevates a peptide called GHK copper peptide. Write it down, GHK copper peptide. That is a peptide that is proven to wake up our master cells, among other things. And very interesting how Dr. Lauren Picard over 50 years ago studied this peptide. And this peptide activates not only our body's stem cells to repair and regenerate, just like when we were younger, it also allows our skin to tighten. I interviewed my mom, now she's 82 years old, but I started doing these interviews on her 80th birthday. And her turkey neck went away. She started to uh, see her skin change. She had skin cancer on her nose, the scar went away. Fine lines, skin spots and lesions. GHK helps with skin. I've interviewed two cancer survivors, two women, increased hair growth. Kathy out of North Carolina, she texts me every day. I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. I said, stay the course, keep patching, keep drinking water. And in the 6th month, and she's right, mid 50s, she texts me. I'll never forget it. She said, my hairstylist says, what are you doing differently? I have a new head of hair. A new head of hair. I'm a nail biter all my life. I can tell my nails are thicker. Wound healing accelerated by over 50%. So if you study GHK copper peptide alone, you want to be doing these patches alone. The brain. I ran into a gentleman today. He said, my cognitive at age 80 is declining. In addition, my son has had brain cancer surgery. He said, there's no doubt we ran into each other's paths. It wasn't an accident. Increased healing many tissues, increased skin, stomach, intestinal lining, bone tissue, strong chemo attracted, strong activated genes. Goes on and on and on. Oops, went to the wrong screen, excuse me. I'm gonna pull up some things. We're gonna talk a little bit about your amazing daughter here. There's a picture of Katie. And before we get to Katie, I forgot to show a picture of what you looked like, Pam. You have an amazing smile today. So the pain level, you can see it in your countenance, your eyes, and then all of a sudden your prayers were answered. Just amazing. Tell us a little bit about Kate.
There she is. Katie was, when I talk about my daughter, I think people get a misunderstanding that she's a child. She is my child, but she's 44 years old. And Katie was born perfectly normal. At 6 weeks of age, she had meningitis and it wiped out her entire nervous system. She lost everything, including the ability to suck. So I had a newborn infant with every problem you could think of. Her entire body was wiped out. Meningitis is cruel. It left her it left her kind of empty. And we've dealt with that for 42 years. And the miracle of all of this is really that all I knew about this for me at the time was it stopped pain. No one ever thinks past their pain. And I was in pain. So when it worked for me, all I thought was pain. Well, Katie didn't have any pain. And one Saturday morning, she woke up with a crick in her neck. And I thought, I have something for that. So I just put one right on her trap. And I thought, okay, we'll see what happens. And that day she was extremely happy. She's always happy. But that day, it was like she changed, she relaxed. And my husband Brian noticed it, but he didn't know that I had put that little patch on her. So,
Brian, your husband. Yes. Mhm.
so the second day, I thought, well, that went well. Let's do it again. On the second day for Katie, that left arm that's been contracted for 42 years straightened out and went over her own head for the first time by herself. And
Wow.
we fell to our knees and cried. I'm
Wow.
just be honest. There was nothing else to do. She was in her bedroom and her arm is up and she's looking at it and she's pointing and she's just smiling and laughing. I mean, she knew that everything had been changed at that moment. And from that day till this, we have a brand new, un- unbridled hope and ability. She is doing things that they said were impossible. She has outlived everything any doctor or any person ever said would happen. Katie has outlived it, and now she's outrunning what regular 44-year-olds do. I mean, she's got no gray hair, not a wrinkle, not a cavity. She's never had a skin breakdown. She can use both arms now. She's moving both legs independently. Her cognitive change is almost daily. We get a new glimpse of something else that's filed in. And it's not just an accident. It's not a one time, one and done. It is her new normal, and her new normal changes every day to the point where I
So,
never in my life thought I'd say it, but I tell Katie, you have to stop talking.
wow.
And she was nonverbal. So for 44 years, for 43 years, we had a nonverbal child. Now I'm telling her she's got to stop talking because it's just it doesn't quit. But
And she keeps
what a problem.
improving. She keeps improving. So here she is. Now she finds her left arm for the
Yeah.
first time. First time. And her left hand. And you and Brian are like, oh my goodness. At what stage should she start talking? From the
She
time she started patching, the time she started. So 2 days later, she raises her arm, right? After she starts patching.
on day two.
Day two, after not being able to raise it for over 40 years.
Yeah.
And then at what point did she start talking?
I guess about 6 months she started we were getting something different. And then It's one of those things that you say you'll never forget, except every day it's a new trickle in of something. And now she's not just speaking, she's humming and singing. And the singing now has gone to the point where instead of just being able to do it laying down, which that is a brand new less than 3 month thing, that's just begun.
Mm.
Now she sings and she can sing she's singing sitting up. She has the strength to do it. She's putting some moves with it. She's snapping her fingers and she's rolling like a boss, singing in the car with everybody else. This was impossible.
Mm.
But nothing is impossible if you just put it on and keep doing it every day. You don't know what can happen, but I know that if I would have stopped, I would have missed the miracle that we had today.
Mm.
And I'm not willing to take that chance. I don't know what's coming. No one can tell me that. Only God knows the future. But I know that every single day that my daughter gets stronger, smarter, and sassier every single day. And I'll take it.
Mm. So tell me, Pam, she's been able to hug you, right? For the
Yeah.
first time. Yeah. So mom gets a hug for the first time at what age?
44.
44. Wow. Hmm.
And she did, it was a mama hug. She put her arm around my whole rib cage and pulled me in, and she's really strong. And she put her head on my chest and just stayed there hugging. If you've waited 44 years for something and you get it, it leaves an imprint.
Yeah,
Sorry,
for sure. Hmm.
it leaves a mark.
Hmm. That's awesome. Tears of joy. So if
And
you're if
gratitude.
and gratitude, if you're watching today and you have a child, grandchild with any physical, mental, emotional challenges, um, attention disorders, we've seen improvement. Autism, we've seen improvement. Watch Diane Ronzino's interview with me in North Carolina. Major cognitive decline for 4 years after getting COVID, getting in the hospital. And she checked herself out of the hospital. She missed her own daughter's wedding, folks. Her ex-husband miraculously introduced these patches by way of Jeff Pattison, who called off a knee replacement surgery, bone on bone surgery, and said, you have to check these out. She put it to the side. She goes to a women's Bible study, and a lady prayed over her and says, your light will heal you. And she's like, what? She calls up her husband. What are these light activated patches? Got on those within 6 months, passed over 30 cognitive exams, listened to her interview, and have renewed hope. Have renewed hope for your children, as Pam has right now. Um, wow.
So on Saturday, every time I meet Lillian Walker, she grabs my shoulders, and if you know her at all, she's just a powerhouse. She grabbed my shoulders and she said, tell me what your girl's doing now. So I told her, Katie has started playing with my phone. She's never cared about a phone before. And she was playing a game, and she looked at me like, what do I do next? I said, press continue. I didn't even think about it. I just said, so Katie looks at it and she does. And then she's looking at the screen, she's swiping, she's doing it. And she's reading the words. Well, Lillian says, your girl's going to start reading and she's going to lead people to wellness.
Mm.
Well, that was Saturday. I didn't get home until Monday. On Sunday, my husband was sitting with her and holding her hand. They're going through the channel guide on cable. And Katie was saying, no, yes, no, yes. She was reading the guide. He thought she was looking at that small picture that shows in the bottom. And so he tried to fool her. She was reading it.
She was
He
reading.
didn't know. He didn't know that Lillian had prayed over Katie and spoke that into existence. On Monday, driving home, he said, "I got to tell you what's happened this weekend." He
Mm.
said, this whole channel guide thing, Katie was reading what movie she wanted to watch. I said she was reading.
Hmm. Wow.
So if you call things into existence that you haven't seen before, but you have the faith and you keep doing what's required, the possibility is infinite.
Hmm.
We walk by faith, not by sight, and everything about this is faith, trust, and light. The light will lead you into the light.